We're officially gorging on broadcasting. From comedy bants to sex advice, crisis supports to philosophy bites. The pandemic has seen everybody and their pet get a podcast, but there's way more. Live streaming has soared and audio platforms are raging globally. In China, user audio platform numbers are predicted to reach 730 million by 2023, a growth rate of 32.4%. With retailers under increasing pressure to air a socially relevant voice, consumers craving personal fame online, and brands at pains to connect and reflect at the speed of pop culture, this is really ultra-fertile territory. Here's a bit more about who's on board, how and why. Now, branded podcasts are still taking the topical pulse. Matches Fashion's weekly session, The Collector's House, where creatives discuss personal objects of significance, is already on its 82nd episode. In February, Selfridges updated its Hot Air podcast with the launch of Good Nature, audio odysseys into philanthropic, biophilia-based pleasure-seeking, designed to galvanise our eco-intentions as we're hurtled into the new normal. A renaissance in radio shows shows that there's also life in old formats. Vans, for instance, is continuing to push into its ethos that marries grassroots youth culture and local love with Channel 66, a radio station transmitting from broadcast hubs in its own physical spaces in the US. Even the metaverse isn't immune. In December 2020, streetwear festival Complex Land's first virtual event built on the legacy of its in-game airwaves, originally pioneered by Grand Theft Auto, and it did this by embedding a radio station into its digital landscape. There's even a virtual shop with radio-related merchandise. Both the station and the store were created by US hip-hop and Afrobeats publisher Empire. Now, in the physical space, one of the biggest opportunities is likely to come from nurturing the rampant consumer appetite for minor, or actually probably quite massive, online stardom. 67% of social media consumers are currently keen to be an influencer themselves. Beauty brands in possession of some of retail's most ardent fandoms currently lead the way. This, for instance, here is the sole flagship of Villa de Mourir, a community-driven space for K-beauty mad teens and millennials, whose pièce de résistance is a production studio for social media content. Next-gen TV app concepts are also swelling, thanks to the lockdown fans taking a bite of the broadcast cherry while distanced and then staying. Network, the very first mobile-first platform that famously billed itself as QVC meets Conicon for Gen Z. This is a platform that sells drops of products via bite-sized broadcasts helmed by anybody, from cult hip-hop stars to athletes, grew a whopping 300% from 2019 to 2020. What's the biggest change from when it started until now? Apparently, it's selling a lot less sneakers and a lot more art, collectibles and homewares. The homewares hype beast market being huge. But what's next on the multimedia menu? Well, there is, of course, Clubhouse. Now, while Clubhouse has lost some of its steam since the initial frenzy, it's still worth watching. British fashion brand Ted Baker was the first to launch this content series on it via talks discussing the intersections of British culture and fashion hosted by Braxis Higgins, founder of the UK's largest club, 9am in London. Also look at OnlyFans, a subscriber-based site infamous for its sexual content, but which is changing complexion. Well, sort of. Think of it as Patreon, but with more kink and a swelling audience. It hit 50 million users in August 2020, up from 12 million just eight months before. Prime for a retail landscape with the ability to sell in tiers, i.e. the more money, the more intimate the access, will be massive. And it's already engaged American fashion brand Rebecca Minkoff. In Feb, she streamed her Autumn-Winter 21 show there. $5 to $25 gives fans access to exclusive content and even the chance to talk to the lady herself. The key takeaway writ large in that last example: don't think of broadcasting as just a means to an end, but actually the main event and the end itself. Thank you very much for listening.